All right, so you've been taught that intelligence is loud, right? Like big words, even bigger opinions. But here's the real deal. Your mind ain't loud. It's like surgical. That's why people totally miss it. If you're an INFJ, or you just think like one, your smartest moves barely even make a sound. Today, I'm going to show you 4 subtle signs of uncommon intelligence that people misread every single day. You're going to see yourself, or you'll see that person who's been 2 steps ahead of you all year. Now, don't watch this to feel all special. Watch it so you stop wasting your edge. No fluff, just proof, patterns, and, pressure. Look, people aren't overlooking you, you're camouflaging yourself. By the end, you're going to have 1 small behavior shift per sign. Use it this week. Let's jump in. All right, listen up. Sign number 1. Cross-context pattern merging. Now here's the really cool part about INFJs that most people totally miss. They're not just piling up facts. They're weaving together these tiny signals across time, and then bam, a picture just snaps into focus. Like a throwaway joke from last month, a clause everyone just glossed over as boilerplate, and today's oddly warm email from procurement. Suddenly they all rhyme. The INFJ just quietly says, "Hey, we're headed for a compliance delay." And everyone rolls their eyes, right up until that delay hits exactly where they called it. But this isn't magic, folks. It's disciplined synthesis. INFJs, they track what's present and what's absent. Absences? That's data. Who didn't speak when the stakes were high? Which risk never got quantified? The motive that was implied but never owned. They notice these micro shifts. Tone softens when numbers pop up. A smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes when a date's mentioned. A pattern of deflection when one name comes up. Each one by itself, nothing. But merge them across contexts, and boom, it's a forecast. Psychologically, think of it as negative space attention and second-order thinking. Negative space attention means your brain gives weight to the missing piece, not just the loud one. Second-order thinking means they're not reacting to the statement. They're reacting to the incentives that produce the statement. That's why their predictions feel like mind reading. They're not predicting feelings, they're mapping structures. All right, so here's how you spot it in real time. When new info drops, watch for that split-second upward glance, plus a tiny nod. That's the mental file save, linking this detail to 2 others you totally forgot. Listen for synthesis language like, the pattern isn't X, it's X when Y is present and Z is missing. Notice how their questions widen the time horizon. What happens to this in Q2 if legal pushes back? They're stitching moments, not just moments ago, but moments apart. Now, how to practice it yourself? Keep an anomaly list and tag each entry with who, where, and what was unsaid. When 3 tags rhyme, make a micro forecast and write the conditions under which you'd be wrong. Do that for a week, and whoa, your conversations start feeling like déjà vu in reverse. All right, moving on to sign number 2, ethical contrarianism. When the crowd accelerates, the INFJ taps the brakes, not to be difficult, but to stay aligned with an internal rulebook. They'll say no to high-status shortcuts that dent trust, even when a yes would win applause. That isn't people-pleasing, it's principled calculus. Trade short-term approval for long-term integrity. They treat ethics as strategy, not slogan. Every choice compounds or discounts future credibility, so they skip the sugar high to protect the asset that actually scales, trust. Example, the team proposes a dark pattern sign-up flow to spike numbers. The INFJ says, no, and here's the math. They tally likely churn, refund friction, compliance risk, and brand damage, then offer a cleaner path that still hits the target. There's no moral grandstanding, it's an opt-out with receipts, a paper trail time can audit. Psychologically, it's identity-first decision-making. Guarding self-consistency reduces regret and keeps cognition clean. Second-order thinking appears as time horizon prompts. What does this look like in 6 months? What would we write in the post-mortem? Shift the axis from status to stewardship, and many bad ideas die on their own. Micro-tells, calm voice under pressure, preference for explicit principles, and questions that pivot from can we to should we, and under what conditions would we still be proud of this? Try it. Define 1 red line you won't cross. Write the reason in a single sentence, and practice a no with an alternative. Integrity feels like friction at first, and leverage later. Sign 3, information fasting leading to, get this, deep synthesis. While everyone binges content, the INFJ restricts inputs and sits with them. One dense article, a notebook, and a walk beat 20 tabs and 3 hot takes. The goal isn't less learning, it's less noise. They treat attention like scarce capital, invest it in fewer sources, and hold judgment long enough for ideas to settle into structure. When they finally speak, it sounds like a cheat code. The real trade-off is X versus Y, and the lever is C. If C moves, Y collapses. That punchy clarity isn't charisma, it's compression. Here's how it plays out. After a single customer journey brief, the team argues for more ads. The INFJ says, "We don't have a reach problem, we have a trust bottleneck at step 2. Fix onboarding clarity and CAC drops without extra spend." Small input, large synthesis, correct priority. They're not chasing more data, they're extracting more meaning from the right data. Psychologically, this is delayed judgment plus negative space attention. By pausing the urge to conclude, they allow weak signals to separate from hype. By attending to what's missing, they outline the problem's true edges. Depth builds a compressible mental model that predicts. Breadth without digestion inflates confidence and drowns signal. Microtells. They close apps after reading, not open more. They rewrite an idea in one sentence before sharing it. They ask constraint questions. What governs this outcome? And speak in if-then conditions rather than adjectives. Their language favors essentials. Cause, lever, threshold, consequence. Want to practice it yourself? Run the 113 drill. Pick one worthy source. Write one sentence that captures its thesis. List 3 implications that would be true if the thesis holds, and name the governing variable. Revisit in 24 hours. If the thesis shrinks and sharpens, you synthesized. If it bloats, you binged. All right, sign number 4, strategic invisibility. The INFJ chooses the back row not to hide, but to model the room. From the edge, they map currents instead of waves. Who defers to whom, whose nod greenlights a decision, where tension quietly pools. While others compete for airtime, the INFJ gathers leverage. They're not absent, they're pre-aiming, building a mental diagram of veto points, unspoken incentives, and the one sentence that could reframe everything. Picture a messy planning meeting. Everyone argues features. The INFJ clocks 3 patterns. Engineering glances at finance before committing. The product lead overtalks when timelines appear, and the executive only engages when retention is mentioned. When they finally speak, it isn't a speech, it's a pivot. We're debating features because we never set the goal constraint. If retention is the target, the roadmap is X, Y, Z. If it's top of funnel, it's A, B, C. The room stops arguing symptoms and moves to the governing variable. Influence without volume. Psychologically, this is sociometric mapping plus second-order persuasion. Sociometric mapping tracks interaction patterns, who echoes, who vetoes, who anchors. Second-order persuasion avoids wrestling the current conclusion. It changes the upstream question so the downstream answers realign on their own. Instead of convince more, the INFJ reframes earlier, shifting the decision architecture from status to structure and from preferences to constraints. Microtells. They take notes about interactions, not just ideas. Their questions target bottlenecks. Who actually owns the final call? Their contributions are timed at inflection points, and their phrasing is crisp and causal. If the constraint is X, the only lever that matters is Y. Practice it yourself. After any meeting, sketch a quick influence map. Decider, veto, expert, messenger. Mark the constraint. In the next discussion, wait for the moment. The group circles the fringe and offer a single reframing line that pulls everyone to the center. Your turn. Share your thoughts and your sharpest take below. Which sign hit, which missed, and why? That's it for this video, and I see you in the next one.